Our next presenter, she is the lead instructor at Fenway Golf Club in White Plains, New York. Or Scarsdale. Scarsdale's good too. It's very close. It's great. You like Scarsdale? Scarsdale's very nice. She was the LPGA Women's Player of the Year in 2005, all the way to 2008, 4 consecutive years. She's played in 3 major championships, including 2 Women's Opens and 1 LPGA Championship in 2008. Please give a warm welcome to Wendy Modic.
Thank you very much. I'll do one thing here real quick. Thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate you coming out, especially in the weather. I'd like to thank the Education Committee for asking me to present today. And I would especially like to thank John Hobbins. John Hobbins encouraged me to get certified with Blast back in November. And I was a little hesitant thinking, what do I need this little sensor for? What is it? Anyways, bottom line, it's probably one of the best things that I've done as far as becoming a better putting instructor and understanding more about the putting stroke itself. I am not, I hope my students look at me as a sort of expert, or their members look at us as experts. But with that being said, with all of you here in this room today, I am not the smartest person in this room by any means, not even close. What I'm going to share with you today is what has helped me to become better and to get better results from my students. And I applaud all of you for being here and trying to become better, and I'm hoping that I can learn a lot from everyone today as well. How many of you here, prior to today, have heard of Blast Motion? Fantastic. How many of you own a Blast Motion sensor? Great. And out of the people that own the sensor, how many of you use it on a consistent basis when you're teaching putting? All right, so maybe a few more. So I was in your boat, and then I bought this sensor last year. I bought it in April, put it in this pile with the teaching aids that I hadn't used and really didn't use it. The only thing I wish that I could do differently is go back and start using it sooner than I already did. For those of you who are not familiar with Blast, Blast Motion is an inertial sensor that attaches to the end of your putter, and it can also attach to the end of your golf club. So it can measure metrics in full swing, and it can also measure metrics in putting. So Blast measures 11 metrics in the putting stroke. And I'm not going to go through all of those metrics today, but I'm going to go through how the sensor works, how the app works, and we'll talk about the portal just for a second. So here's the sensor that we're talking about. It attaches right to the end of the putter, okay? I've got an app here that I can, as John said, I don't need Wi-Fi. It attaches through Bluetooth, so I can get all of my information on either my phone or my iPad, and then everything goes up into the portal. And so, as John said earlier as well, that we can access what different players are doing and what their metrics are when it comes to putting. Why I like Blast and why I think it's really important is that it is extremely portable. This will fit in my pocket, okay? It is very affordable. For what this measures, this should be priced, in my opinion, a lot more than it is. And it is 100% measurable. So this is completely objective when you're using Blast Motion as far as the numbers that we're getting from it. The numbers don't lie. This is right now, it's currently on the 3 tours, the #1 putting training aid. And the athletes that use this are not paid by Blast. So in my opinion, if you look at what the best players in the world are doing, why wouldn't you want to try to train the same way? So, and I like the fact that when my students can buy one, I can watch their progress. So, there are a couple facts about Blast. And part of these 11 metrics, the 2 that we're going to talk about today, are backstroke time and forward stroke time. Your backstroke time is literally the time that it takes to make a backstroke. So from address to the end of your backstroke. And your forward stroke time is from that point back to the ball. backstroke time is very important in that if you can get a consistent backstroke time, you are going to have a more consistent putting stroke, which will lead to a more consistent forward stroke time, which will help you control your speed, which we all know speed is so important. So Blast they've captured right now just under 2 million putting strokes. And out of these 2 million putting strokes, what they have found is that the best players in the world, so we're talking tour players, elite athletes, elite amateurs, college players, they all have a consistent signature or certain time that their putting stroke takes. Now that putting stroke time, and this is what I found very strange when I first started thinking about this, is that that timing is the same whether you're hitting a 2-foot putt or you're hitting a 100-foot putt. And so that timing that they have found, the best putters in the world, and again, your timing is going to be based on your lever length, as John was saying. So your lever length being from the middle of your shoulder blades, basically measured down to the putter. But the majority of the people that we teach, the average adult, their backstroke time is going to range somewhere between 0.57 and 0.60 seconds, and their forward stroke time is going to be somewhere between 0.27 and 0.30 seconds. So ideally for about a total stroke time of about 0.9 seconds. So when you look here, whoops, sorry, Daryl. So backstroke time, 0.6 seconds, forward stroke time, 0.3 seconds, for a total stroke time of 0.9, or in other words, it is a 2-to-1 ratio. Now, I can stand up here and I can keep giving you facts, but I think that for me, I learn a lot more when it's more interactive. Is there anyone here who would like to come up and do a little bit of demonstrating that we can work with your putting? Really? You're too good. Come on up, Tyler. This may not prove my point here. Okay, so I'm here in the app right now. So we're going to go to District 2 demo right here. You can see the blue signal there. That means that I am now attached to this sensor. So all I need to do is shake this to connect to Bluetooth. So now what I'm going to have Tyler do, come on up here, Tyler. Oh, this is not even Dell. So what I do when I first start a lesson is I will have a player start at about 3 feet, then I'll have them hit a few putts at 3 feet, I'll have them hit a few putts at 6 feet, maybe 10 feet, and then they'll do a couple 30-footers. And what I'm looking at is I'm trying to look at their timing, I'm looking at their stability, which is absolutely crucial in my opinion. All right, go ahead and hit a couple putts. So he's starting with a 3-footer. Okay, hold on 1 second. So I'm going to look at now, I'm observing. So backstroke time, 0.46 seconds. Forward stroke time, 0.28 seconds. Okay, keep going. So 0.47 is 0.28 seconds. Now go back a little bit farther, Tyler. Go ahead and go to about 6 feet. So while I'm looking at the numbers and I'm watching his putting stroke, I'm also looking at his stability. I'm looking at his posture. So we're looking at those posture lines that John was talking about. .55 and .30. So forward stroke, fantastic. And the backstroke is getting better. That was a perfect putt right there, according to Blast metrics for timing. So he had a backstroke time of 0.6 seconds, a forward stroke time of 0.3 seconds, for a total of 0.9 seconds. So now what I'll do, so when we go through this progression, if I see someone who, so Tyler's a pretty good putter right here, but if he were consistently maybe making a backstroke time of about 0.5 seconds, and his tempo was off. What I would first do is, again, look at his stability. And then I would probably start with a foam pad. So I would have him set up on a foam pad, really try to get his balance. And for someone like Tyler, who's more of an elite athlete,
Yeah, we can see
as so Tyler being a very good player and an elite athlete, he's not going to have that hard of a time. But I'll have him make some putts off of this, just to get a feel. And as John was saying, and it's actually an interesting point, in that he doesn't always have his students make a lot of putts. And why I think that's actually very good is that I've noticed in working with foam pads, half foam rollers, that in working with kettlebells, I can get someone who might have a putting stroke that looks something similar to this, which I would say most of us would probably say that that wasn't very good as far as maintaining that lever and maintaining that one piece type of motion. But all of a sudden, when you get them on something that's a little bit more unstable, things start to change. Not even making putts. So now I would then make the progression if I saw that my athlete had pretty good balance at that point. I then might get him on, like, say, a half foam roller. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this, but actually, we're going to have to hop on here for a second. So a little better then. Go ahead and set up as if you're going to hit a putt to the screen, but a normal putt, just with your normal putting posture. So his posture is already pretty good. I think that he's pretty stable. But now what I noticed is that once he got onto this, his posture now changed a little bit more. He was now a little bit more centered. Now I see how now his joints all line up. So that to me is very good. That's something that I'm looking for. And then what I might do, I've got these kettlebells here. I have 5 pound, 10 pound, 15 pound, 20 pound. The majority of the people that we're working with are going to probably start with something a little bit lighter. And then if they're doing well with that, then I might have them go to a 10 pound weight or a 15 pound weight. I'm going to have Tyler start right now. Go ahead and grip this as you would a putter. So just hop back on there again. Good. So now what I'll have him do is just make a couple putting strokes doing this. What do you feel when you're doing this? Do you feel anything different than when you're making a putt? He's saying that it's more of his core and his back. So one of the things, when we teach, I can teach someone, I can visually show them a video, I can demonstrate for them, and they can see that. Analytically, I can explain something to a person and have them hopefully understand what I'm trying to explain or the reasoning behind what I'm trying to get someone to do. Feel, and I don't know how many of you have felt this, but feel can sometimes be a hard thing to teach because we can't really get into someone's body. I can try to give people ideas as far as what you should try to feel. But to me, getting on something like this to feel stability, I mean, I've told people before, okay, for a full swing, get in a linebacker position, feel like you're really stable. That kind of works, but at the same time, getting him so that he is more stable and he's now on this unstable surface, all of a sudden, he's now more stable, he feels his core engaging more, and chances are, when his core is more engaged, he's going to make a better putting stroke. Go ahead and hit some more putts. When I got on this, when I first was introduced to Blast a year ago, I hit a couple putts, and my forward stroke time was really pretty good, and I thought I was a pretty good putter at this point. But every once in a while, like when I wasn't playing a lot and I wasn't practicing a lot, I would have trouble with my distance control. And so my forward stroke time was all over the map when I got on this. I was like 0.7, 0.75 seconds on the backstroke. And when I got to a longer putt, like say from here to the other side of the room, I was almost over a second with my putting stroke. My forward stroke time was good, but my backstroke time was all over. And I kept trying to, I know obviously it needs to be a little bit faster, so I tried to speed it up. I still really couldn't get it. The one thing that really helped me more than anything to clean up my timing, and this was during the certification last November, was getting on this half foam roller. This made such a difference for me, and I didn't realize that I was so unstable, but what this really showed me is that I wasn't very stable with my setup. I wasn't staying solid throughout the putting stroke, and as a result, it was leading to poor timing. So, go ahead and hit another one, Tom. That's good. And you know, he's within 5/100ths of a second as far as what blast actually suggests. That right there, if we're anywhere in that range, that's really pretty good. And what I would stress when using blast is that you can use it and you can see immediate results, but are those results going to stick? How often do the best players in the world practice putting? A lot. They're working on these things constantly. As John was mentioning, Charlie Hoffman, I had the opportunity to watch Michael Bentley work with Charlie Hoffman this winter, and all Charlie was doing was literally, he was on a half foam roller, he was on foam disc or on foam pads, he was working with kettlebells, just really working on his timing. He didn't even hit that many putts when he was working with Michael, and this was back in early March. You see how well he putted at the Masters, but I spoke to Charlie afterwards, and I asked him, I said, you know, what you're doing here right now, how easy is this? Is this, you know, you're such a good athlete, you're a great player. He said this is really hard, and what was hard for him was taking it from practicing in the blast lab or practicing on his own, taking it out onto the golf course. But he said that he knew that by seeing the results that he saw and seeing how his putting numbers had changed and he's become better, that he needed to do it. And you can see the progress that he's made. Does anyone have any questions about blast or anything that we've seen up here as far as the timing? Yes?
Anybody figure out why the numbers are need to be what they need to be?
You know what they are, more than anything, they're based on, you know, like we said, almost like 1.8 million putting strokes, and getting that consistent timing, and again, there are different numbers. I'm assuming that you're referring to timing.
Yeah, I mean, like, Fred's Grand Rapids Academy, 25, 30 years ago, had a list of all the top players, Tasman, whatever, and they were all 0.92 years old,
Right.
0.33, 0.6.
Exactly. So I think, I mean, really what it is if you look at, if you go onto the Blast app, there are different, there are videos for each metric, but basically the way that the putting stroke works is that if you have a 2-to-1 tempo, you're accelerating, but not overly accelerating. It's not too long of a not too long of a backstroke, and basically it's as efficient as it can be. So it's based on really more than anything the 1.8 million strokes that they've captured. So the best putters in the world have this putting timing. I spoke to Brad Paxton at the PGA show. He's a brand ambassador, he's a Blast ambassador, and he's known as one of the guys that players will go to when they're having trouble with their putting. And he said this is why he likes Blast, is that it's measurable, but it's measuring what he used to see. And he used to take videos of players, and this is like even pre-iPhone when they would get video cameras out on the putting green, and he would see these long putting strokes. And I asked him, when you used to work with players, when players would come to you and seek out your advice, did the majority of the players that came to you, were their putting strokes too short or too long? And he said 99% of the people that he worked with, their putting strokes, their timing was too long. They were too long in the backstroke, and basically the more time that you're doing something, the more room for error you have.
Is that with better players, or what about higher handicap?
I think better with that, definitely for better players, but if we can get our higher handicap players to do the same thing, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Yes?
When did you find that in working with your students that you give them instruction on how to change that timing? Do you find that your practice with their feet help in changing that timing?
I think that with the feet is very important, as John does with these putting mats that he gives to all of the students. If you get someone a very stable platform, they're going to be more stable all the way up. So you start working with your feet. Our feet have so many sensors in them, and so if we start from the ground up, we're going to be more stable throughout the entire putting stroke. I think grip pressure makes a difference too, because once you grip a club tighter, you're tightening more muscles, and so then you start to isolate some different muscles. And as Steve Scott knows, with grip, how important is grip?
Very important.
Exactly. Yes?
Are you always trying to get your students closer to 2-to-1 tempo? Or let's say somebody comes to you with 1.5-to-1 tempo, it's off, and they do it on like 10-footer, 30-footer, 6-footer, and consistent with it?
So that's a great question. Here's the thing, in my opinion and what I've seen, and I've asked this question as well. You take someone, I think it was, I can't remember it was Fred Funk, or it may have been Snedeker, who his timing, he was .44 on the backstroke, and he was .22 on the forward stroke. So it was perfect 2-to-1 tempo. So I think as an instructor, or even as an elite player, athlete, you look at that and say, should I actually make that jump and try to change it to what the best putters in the world do if this works for me? And what I would say is that you can get a better player to be consistent doing whatever they're doing, or you could watch the consistency. But with that consistency, those better players probably have to practice a little bit more to do that, as I was in that, and I was more like a 2.5 to 1 as far as my timing goes. So I think that people can be consistent with different timing, but I think you are going to be more consistent if you try to get people more in this range. And again, this timing is all based on the lever length, and this is a very broad speech this morning, but the majority of the athletes that we're going to see, or the members that we see, we're going to, if we can get the average, average posture, not someone who's extremely tall, not someone who's really short, if we can get them somewhere between 0.57 and 0.60 on the backstroke, and then get that forward stroke time, so I would always attack backstroke first, and then I would work on forward stroke time, but I think that they will be consistent for a longer period of time with less. I think they're going to have to work at it to get there if that's not where they are right now, but I think with time they will definitely get there, and they'll be more consistent in the long run. Any other questions? Yes?
You ever looked at it, is it the same time as a pendulum, or is it different?
I would say, John, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, a pendulum is 1-to-1. Okay, on the blast protocol, the pendulum is spring-loaded. What I'm doing here is I'm loading my spine, and that's how you get the 2-to-1. So the backstroke is twice the length of the forward stroke. So a pendulum, if you had a 1-to-1, which they inaccurately report on TV, I think it was Jordan Spieth, which was just, I researched that whole thing. It was very inaccurate how they captured their data. But you think about it, if I'm a 1-to-1, my backstroke is going to have to be up here somewhere for a 40, 50 footer. This is spring-loaded, that's why it's 2-to-1. So it's a spring-loaded pendulum.
Great. I'm around all, go ahead.
Real quick.
Sure.
Dealing with people with the yips,
Uh-huh.
what kind of numbers do you see for them, specifically backstroke to the forestroke, and also how would you attack them in terms of correcting their mechanics?
That's a great question, and I'm going to give you a quick answer on it. Probably not the time that it deserves. But I have not personally worked with anyone with the yips yet with this, but Michael Bentley spoke to the Met section at our spring education forum last week or 2 weeks ago. And what he found, he had a case study in there of a really good college player, number 2 on his college team, a D1 player who had a bad case of the yips, and he'd had it for about 2 months, this 19-year-old player, fantastic ball striker, not a great putter. Anyways, what he found was that his backstroke time compared to his forward stroke time was much faster. And so the first thing that he did, and this guy was literally like, he had practically was hyperventilating, talking about, when he started talking about putting and hitting putts. So the first thing that he did is he put him on an unstable surface and got him into a more balanced posture. So instead of being, he was very top heavy, he got him more balanced so that his joint centers were aligned. All of a sudden, he was literally calmer because he felt more in control. And then he had him start hitting putts, making putts, and he's had him work with the kettlebells. Basically, this was, a couple-day period of time, and he did some work on it, but he found that his timing was much better as a result. So bottom line, when someone has the yips, we're going to change their grip probably, or we might talk about maybe if someone's putting conventionally, we might start with left hand low, we might go to the quad, and there are so many different putting grips that you can try. The bottom line, when someone has the yips, we're trying to create change. So by getting someone on an unstable surface and working on their posture and getting them so that they are balanced and starting from a balanced position, you're already introducing change. And if that change doesn't work, find something else to do with them, but keep working with it. I think I'm out of time, but thank you all for your attention. I appreciate it. If you have any questions later, I'm happy to